My name is Tim. I'm 28, and I've been married for 3 years. If it hadn't been for that one misdialed call, I might never have known that my wife, Ava, the woman who was flawless in everyone else's eyes, had betrayed our marriage long ago. It was 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and I was in my study going over some financial reports for the company. Ava had said she was working late and still wasn't home. Suddenly, my phone rang. The caller ID said Ava. Confused, I picked up, ready to ask when she was coming home. "Hey babe, miss me?" Ava's voice, so gentle it could melt you, came through the phone. I hadn't heard her sound that gentle in a long, long time. I froze for a second, about to answer, when I heard her continue. "Last night at the hotel you said you wanted a baby. Well, I'm coming home to you tonight." My blood ran cold. Last night? The hotel? A baby? Ava was home last night. We'd even gotten into a fight because she was on her phone so late. I held my breath, my fingers gripping the phone. "Babe," a clear male voice rang out from the other end. "I just got out of the shower. Hurry back." The man's voice was young, with a playful, almost whiny tone. I heard Ava let out a low chuckle. "Okay, I'm on my way. By the way, I'll come up with an excuse to go on a business trip tomorrow. We can go to that beach resort you've always wanted to see." "Really? That's awesome. I love you so much," the man shouted excitedly. "I love you too, William." William. I memorized the name. When the call ended, I realized my hands were shaking. 3 years of marriage. It was all a joke. I got up and walked into the living room, staring at our wedding photo on the wall. In the picture, Ava had her arm linked through mine, smiling so brightly, as if I were the most precious thing in the world. And now, she was telling another man I love you. I sat down on the couch, trying to calm myself. I had 2 choices. Confront her, have a huge fight, and get a divorce, or secretly gather evidence and make her pay the price she deserved. I chose the latter. If she chose to betray me, she couldn't blame me for being ruthless. At 11:30, Ava came home. She saw me sitting in the living room the moment she walked in, and her expression faltered. "Tim, why are you still up?" She walked over, trying to kiss my forehead. I leaned away. "Waiting for you. Working late again?" "Yeah, this project is pretty urgent." Her eyes darted around. "Oh, right. I might have to go on a business trip for a few days starting tomorrow. Down to San Francisco to meet with a client." A business trip, just like she'd said on the phone. I nodded. "Okay, got it. I'm gonna go shower." She walked quickly toward the bedroom. I watched her go, a cold sneer on my face. A shower? To wash off the scent of another man? I pulled out my phone and checked the call history. The call from earlier showed a duration of 3 minutes and 21 seconds, and the contact was indeed Ava. So, she had meant to call that William guy but accidentally dialed me instead. Seemed even fate was on my side. While Ava was in the shower, I secretly checked the pockets of her coat. Sure enough, I found a hotel key card. It said the Ritz, room 1203. There was also a receipt showing that she'd bought a men's watch at the mall that afternoon. The price was $18,000. An $18,000 watch. She'd never bought me anything like that. I took pictures of the evidence with my phone, then put everything back where I found it. Ava came out of the shower looking cheerful, and even wrapped her arms around me. "Honey, I'll be away for a few days. You take care of yourself at home. Okay?" She sounded so concerned, but I knew she was thinking about another man. "Yeah, you too," I said flatly. She thought I didn't know anything, so she laid the sweetness on thick, even kissing me. I fought back the nausea and played along with her act. If you want to act, I'll play along until the very end. Lying in bed, I listened to the sound of Ava's breathing beside me, my mind racing as I planned my next move. I needed to find that guy, William. I needed more evidence. I needed to make them pay. 3 years ago, I had put my own career on hold to take care of our home, to support her work. I even gave her the $1 million my family gave me as a startup fund to help her launch her business. And what did she do? She was keeping a man on the side behind my back. Well then, she couldn't blame me for turning on her. This war was just beginning. The next morning, just as she'd said, Ava packed her bags for her business trip. I was in the kitchen making breakfast, appearing calm as ever, but my mind was a whirlwind of plans. "Honey, I'm leaving," Ava said, rolling her suitcase over to give me a kiss. "Be safe," I said with a smile. "When will you be back?" "Probably 3 or 4 days. Depends on how the work goes." I nodded and watched her leave. As soon as her car was out of sight, I sprang into action. First, I needed to find out who William was. I opened Ava's laptop. Her password was my birthday, a detail that had once touched me deeply. Now, it was just ironic. I went through her chat history, emails, and photo folders, but found nothing suspicious. It seemed she was careful, keeping all her secrets on her phone. I remembered she'd left her phone on the vanity while she showered last night. I'd missed my chance to check it. Since a direct search didn't work, I had to change my approach. I took out the hotel keycard and decided to go check out the scene. The Ritz wasn't far from our house, just a 20-minute drive. I sat down at a cafe across the street from the hotel, ordered a coffee, and watched the entrance. After waiting for over an hour, I finally saw who I was looking for. Ava got out of a taxi, a young man at her side. He looked to be 23 or 24 at most, tall and slim, wearing a clean white t-shirt. He had his arm linked with Ava's, looking as close as a college kid with his girlfriend. That had to be William. I pulled out my phone and quickly snapped a few pictures. After they went into the hotel, I waited 10 minutes before following them inside. "Hi, I'm a friend of the guest in room 1203. She told me to come up and meet her," I said to the front desk clerk. The clerk replied politely, "Could you please contact the guest to confirm?" "Sure." I pretended to make a call, then said, "She's in the shower. She said to just let me go up." The clerk remained cautious. "I'm sorry, sir, but we need confirmation from the guest herself." I knew that wasn't going to work, so I changed my strategy. I sat down in the hotel lobby, pretending to wait for someone, while actually keeping an eye on the elevator indicator for the 12th floor. Around 3 in the afternoon, I saw the elevator come down from 12. Ava and the kid walked out. I immediately got up and followed them. They got into Ava's car, and I followed at a distance in mine. First, they went to the mall and spent half an hour in a luxury store. When they came out, the kid was wearing a new watch on his wrist. It must have been the one Ava bought yesterday. Then they went to a high-end restaurant for dinner, acting lovey-dovey, just like a couple in the throes of passion. I sat in my car outside the restaurant and recorded everything. At 5 o'clock, they went back to the hotel. This time, I didn't follow them in. I drove home and started organizing the evidence I had collected. Photos, videos, times, locations, I documented it all meticulously. But it wasn't enough. I needed more direct proof. That evening, I got a text from Ava. "Just landed in San Francisco. Everything's going well. Miss you." It came with a photo of the San Francisco skyline at night. I sneered and replied, "Miss you too. Don't work too hard." Then I did a reverse image search on the photo she sent. Sure enough, it was a stock image from the internet. A compulsive liar. I started mapping out a more detailed plan. Tomorrow, I would go to Ava's company and talk to her colleagues. Knowing Ava's personality, she couldn't have hidden her affair perfectly. There had to be clues. I also needed to find a way to get close to William and learn about his background. Most importantly, I needed their hotel records and chat logs. I remembered that among our mutual friends, one was a lawyer and another was a private investigator. Maybe they could help. I couldn't sleep that night, not because of sadness, but because of rage. For 3 years, I had given the best years of my life to this woman, and she had betrayed me behind my back. If she was going to be merciless, then I would be ruthless. This war would be won by making them pay a heavy price. I picked up my phone and dialed my best friend, Max, who was also a lawyer. "Tim? What's up, man? Calling this late, is something wrong?" I took a deep breath. "Max, I need a reliable PI. As fast as possible." There was a moment of silence on the other end. "Is Ava in trouble?" "She's the one who put me in trouble," I said coldly. "I get it. I'll send you the contact info right now. Hey, whatever's going on, I've got your back." A moment later, I had the private investigator's contact information. Tomorrow, my plan for revenge would officially begin. Ava, you thought you were so clever, but you have no idea. The person who knows you best also knows best how to destroy you. The next morning, I met the private investigator, Mr. Davis, at a coffee shop. Mr. Davis was a man in his 40s, sharp and competent. Mr. Grant, he said, getting straight to the point. Max told me you need my help. I didn't beat around the bush either. I suspect my wife is having an affair. I need you to gather evidence. Mr. Davis nodded. I've seen this kind of situation many times. What leads do you have so far? I showed him the photos and videos I had taken yesterday. This kid's name is William. I need to know his real name, his school or job, his family background, and their hotel and chat records. Mr. Davis studied the photos. The kid looks young, like a student. I'll start by running a check on his identity. Then I'll figure out a way to get the hotel records. As for the chat logs, that will depend on the opportunity. How long will it take? Give me 3 days, Mr. Davis said. But you need to be prepared. Sometimes the truth is crueler than you can imagine. I sneered. I don't care how cruel it is. All I want is the truth. After leaving the coffee shop, I drove to Ava's company. She worked as a creative director at a small ad agency with about 30 employees. I went to the office under the guise of bringing everyone afternoon tea and chatted with her colleagues. Is Ava on a business trip? I asked her assistant, Cindy, feigning ignorance. Yeah, she left for San Francisco yesterday. Said it was for a big project, Cindy said. Tim, you're such a great husband. Ava's so lucky to have you. I smiled. She works so hard, of course I have to take care of her. By the way, has she seemed really tired lately? I've noticed she's been working late a lot. Cindy thought for a moment. Not that late, she usually leaves at a normal time. But there is a new project that's been pretty intense lately. It might require a lot of travel. Something clicked. A new project? What kind of project? I think it's the annual ad campaign for a jewelry brand. The client is really demanding, so Ava is personally in charge. A jewelry brand. I remembered Ava taking William to buy that watch yesterday. Which company is the client? I pressed. I think it's Starlight Jewelers? Cindy said, sounding unsure. Starlight Jewelers. I made a mental note. After chatting with her colleagues for a bit longer, I learned that Ava had indeed been going out frequently, supposedly to meet clients, but she never told anyone where she was going or who she was meeting. Also, she had started dressing more stylishly and had even changed her perfume. To her colleagues, these might have seemed like normal changes, but to me, they were all evidence of her affair. After leaving her office, I drove straight to a Starlight Jewelers store. It was a high-end jewelry boutique, exquisitely decorated. I pretended I was there to buy jewelry for my wife and struck up a conversation with a salesperson. We're working on a new ad campaign with a very professional agency, the salesperson said enthusiastically. The creative director is so young and talented. The concept she designed is brilliant. Is that so? What's the concept? It's themed around true love, using the story of a young couple to represent the beautiful meaning of our jewelry. The models in our store are a real couple, so the photos look incredibly natural. My heart tightened. The models are a real couple? Yes. The creative director said that only people who are truly in love can convey the meaning of the jewelry. She even participated in the photo shoot herself, modeling with her boyfriend. So sweet. I clenched my fists, fighting back my rage, and continued to press. Is her boyfriend in the ad industry too? No, I think he's a college student studying art. He's incredibly handsome. In fact, he picked out one of our collaboration watches. They said it was for the shoot, but I think his girlfriend just wanted to gift it to him. A college student studying art, all the details matched the William I had seen yesterday. I lingered in the store a bit longer, pretending to browse, while actually looking at the ad posters. Sure enough, in one of the store's promotional brochures, I saw a picture of Ava and William. In the photo, they were embracing, looking just like a real couple. The way Ava looked at William was filled with a tenderness I had never seen before. I secretly took pictures of the brochure with my phone and then calmly left the store. Sitting in my car, I finally couldn't hold it in anymore and slammed my fist on the steering wheel. not out of sadness, but out of pure rage. They weren't just having a simple affair. They were packaging their betrayal as true love and even using it to make money. This was the ultimate insult to our marriage. I took a deep breath, calmed myself down, and sent a text to Mr. Davis, telling him what I had just learned. He replied quickly, "This is a great lead. I'll speed up the investigation. By the way, do you have a specific time they were at the hotel? I needed to check the records." I thought for a moment and replied, "Yesterday between 3 and 5 p.m. They're probably there today too." "Got it. I'm on it." After hanging up, I drove home. On the way, I received a message from Ava. "In a meeting. We'll call you later." I replied with a cold smile, "Okay, don't work too hard." Then I deleted the conversation, just like she deleted her chats with William. If she could act, so could I, and I would do it better. Back home, I began organizing all the evidence I had collected over the past 2 days. Photos, videos, recordings, times, and locations. I categorized everything and saved it to the cloud. I now had enough evidence to prove Ava's affair, but that wasn't enough. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted them to pay a much bigger price. I wanted everyone to know what kind of person Ava was. I wanted to ruin her reputation in our social circle. I wanted her career to suffer. Most importantly, I wanted to take back everything that was mine. This war was just beginning. On the third day, Mr. Davis sent me a detailed investigation report. The kid's name was William Cole, 21 years old, a junior at a local art college. His family was working class, his parents were factory workers. He and Ava had known each other for 3 months, ever since the jewelry ad project began. Crucially, Mr. Davis had obtained their hotel records. For the past 3 months, they had been meeting at different hotels almost every week, for a total of over 20 times. Mr. Davis also found that Ava had transferred money to William's bank account, a total of over $80,000 in 3 months. That $80,000 had come from our joint account. She was using my money to support her pretty boy. Looking at the evidence, my anger reached its peak. But what made me even more furious was the last piece of information from Mr. Davis. "According to my investigation, your wife is already preparing to move in with the student. She looked at several apartments yesterday and plans to rent one next month." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Anger wouldn't solve anything. What I needed was the perfect revenge. I called Mr. Davis back. "This is great. Now I need you to do one last thing for me." "What is it?" "I need their chat history, especially from the last few days." Mr. Davis paused. "That's difficult. It requires physical access to her phone." "I have a way," I said. "She's coming home tonight. I'll figure out how to get her phone." That afternoon, I got a message from Ava. "The project went really well. I'm flying home tonight." I replied, "That's great. I'll make your favorite dishes for you." Then I went to the grocery store and even bought a bottle of red wine. Ava got home at 8 o'clock, looking very pleased with herself. "Honey, did you miss me?" she said, hugging me and kissing my cheek. I fought back the urge to gag and smiled. "Of course I did. Go wash up. I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs." At dinner, I deliberately filled her wine glass to the brim. "Here's to a successful project," I said, raising my glass. Ava was thrilled and downed several glasses in a row. As the wine flowed, she became more talkative, bragging about how successful the project was. "Tim, you have no idea. The creative concept for this jewelry ad is amazing. The client is extremely satisfied. I found a really unique pair of models, and the photos turned out so authentic." "Really? What kind of models?" I asked, feigning interest. "A very young, handsome boy, an art student. He's got a special kind of charisma. The female model he worked with was great, too." As she spoke, her eyes seemed to drift. I knew the female model she was talking about was herself, but she didn't dare say it. "Is your company really busy with projects lately?" I continued to fish for information. "It's okay, but big projects like this are rare." She was getting a bit drunk, her speech slurring. "Actually, this project, never mind. Let's not talk about work. Let's talk about something else." She tried to put her arm around me, but I deftly moved away. "You've had too much to drink. You should go take a shower," I said. Okay, I'll go shower. She stood up unsteadily. After she went into the bedroom, she placed her phone on the nightstand and went into the bathroom. This was my chance. I tiptoed into the bedroom and picked up her phone. The password was still my birthday. She hadn't changed it. I quickly opened her messaging app and found her chat with William Cole. She had changed his contact name to William Baby. The chat history was filled with sickeningly sweet messages. Babe, you were so handsome at the shoot today. I couldn't take my eyes off you. Stop, you're making me blush. I'm serious. You're the most handsome guy I've ever seen. What about your husband? Don't mention him. We're just a couple on paper. There's no love left. After this project is over, I'll divorce him and then we can be together. Really? You're not lying to me, are you? Of course not. I'm already looking at apartments. When you graduate, we'll move in together. My hands were trembling as I read this. So, she wasn't just cheating. She was planning to divorce me and move in with that student. I scrolled further down and saw something that enraged me even more. Babe, I have to go home and play house with my husband tomorrow. Don't be mad. Okay? I know it must be hard for you. But it'll be over soon, right? Yes, very soon. I've already contacted a lawyer to start drafting the divorce papers. So when can we get the apartment? Next month. I need to figure out how to transfer some assets first so I lose less in the divorce. Transfer assets? I immediately took screenshots of these messages, then went to their transfer history. The $80,000 was indeed sent to William in several installments. And the most recent transfer was just yesterday for $18,000. The note said rent. She had already started paying his rent. I also saw that they had plans to view an apartment tomorrow afternoon and sign the lease. The sound of the water in the bathroom stopped. Ava was almost done. I quickly put the phone back where I found it and quietly slipped out of the bedroom. When Ava came out of the shower, she seemed to have sobered up a bit. Tim, I'm a little tired. I'm going to bed, she said. Okay, you go ahead. I'll watch some TV. After she fell asleep, I sent all the screenshots to Mr. Davis. He replied quickly, "This is more than enough evidence. What's your plan?" I thought for a moment and replied, "I'm going to give them a surprise they'll never forget." The next morning, Ava said she had to go to the office to handle some things. I knew she was going to meet William and look at the apartment. Go ahead, I said calmly. I'm going out too, meeting up with a friend for coffee. Okay, let's have dinner together tonight. She kissed me and left. Watching her leave, I let out a cold laugh. Dinner together tonight? I don't think she'll have the chance. Today was the day I strike back. As soon as Ava left, I set my revenge plan into motion. First, I called my best friend and lawyer, Max. Max, I need your help, I said, getting straight to the point. What's wrong? You don't sound right, Max said, sensing the tension in my voice. Ava's cheating on me. I need you to draft a divorce agreement and file to freeze our assets. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. Tim, are you sure? Positive. I have all the proof. I quickly summarized the evidence I'd collected over the past few days.
Max was furious.
That bitch. Tim, don't you worry. I'll make sure you get everything you deserve. Thanks, man. Don't mention it. We're brothers. So when are you planning to drop the bomb? This afternoon, I said. They're going to look at an apartment. I'm going to give them a little surprise. After hanging up, I contacted Mr. Davis. I need you to follow them this afternoon and record the entire process of them viewing the apartment. No problem. Send me the address. Then I started preparing for the main event. I was going to show up while Ava and William were looking at the apartment and expose their whole charade. But before that, I had something more important to do. I drove to the bank and transferred all the money from our joint account into my personal account. Half of that money was mine to begin with, and the other half was earned from the startup fund I gave her. I had every right to protect my assets. Then I went to Ava's office. Cindy, is Ava in? I asked her assistant. Hey, Tim. She went out this morning to meet a client, Cindy said. Oh, okay. I'll wait for her. I sat down in her office. When Cindy wasn't looking, I stuck a small recording device under Ava's desk. Mr. Davis had given it to me. It could record remotely and also track its location. This way, even if Ava wasn't in her office, I would know where she was and what she was doing. At 2 in the afternoon, I got a message from Mr. Davis. They're at the apartment building now. It's a luxury high-rise downtown. I immediately drove over. It was a new, upscale complex with a nice environment and an expensive price tag. I waited at the entrance for a few minutes and saw Ava and William walk out, holding hands. William looked thrilled, chattering away to Ava as they walked. Ava's expression was tender, the very picture of a woman in love. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and walked towards them. "Honey, fancy seeing you here," I called out loudly. When Ava heard my voice, her face went deathly pale. William froze, looking at me nervously. "Tim, what are you doing here?" Ava stammered. "I was visiting a friend and just happened to run into you." I walked up to them and smiled. "And who is this?" Ava opened her mouth but didn't know how to introduce him. William, however, was quick on his feet. "Hello, sir. I'm a client of Ms. Willow's. We just finished looking at an apartment." "Sir?" The term almost made me laugh out loud. I'm only 28 and he was calling me sir? "Oh, a client," I said, pretending to understand. "You're a handsome young man. You look like a college student." "Thank you, sir," William said, blushing slightly. Ava stood beside them, looking extremely uncomfortable, constantly shooting glances at William. "So, since you were looking at apartments, did you find one you like?" I continued my innocent act. "We're still thinking about it," Ava managed to reply. "I've heard this complex is great, just a bit pricey." "Are you going to be living here by yourself?" I asked, looking at William. William grew flustered. "Why, yes. A young man living in such a nice place, your family must be well off." William's face turned even redder, and he didn't know how to respond. Ava finally couldn't take it anymore. "Tim, we have to go." "Oh, okay. You guys go ahead," I said with a smile. "By the way, honey, didn't you say you had a business trip? When are you leaving?" "Tea tomorrow," Ava said, her guilt obvious. "Then let's have a nice dinner tonight," I said deliberately loudly. "I'll make your favorite." Hearing this, William's expression clearly changed. Ava was also very embarrassed. "Okay." Seeing their flustered looks filled me with a sense of satisfaction. "Well, I won't keep you. See you later," I said, waving. As I turned to leave, I heard William whisper to Ava, "Is that your husband?" I didn't catch Ava's reply, but I was sure it wasn't anything nice. I got back in my car and sent a message to Mr. Davis. "Did you get it?" "The whole thing on video, including your conversation," he replied. "Good. Now for the next phase." I drove home and started preparing for tonight's grand finale. If Ava wanted to act, then I would act with her. Only this time I was going to show her what real acting was. At 6 o'clock, Ava came home right on time. She was in a terrible mood, her face dark. "Honey, what's wrong? You look upset," I asked with concern. "Nothing, just work stuff," she said evasively. "Did the meeting with your client this afternoon not go well?" I deliberately brought it up. Ava's body visibly tensed. "It was fine. The client is just a bit difficult." "I thought that young man seemed pretty easygoing," I said casually. "He just looks very young, like a student." "Really? I didn't notice," Ava said, avoiding my gaze. I dropped the subject and went to the kitchen to cook. At the dinner table, Ava was distracted, constantly checking her phone. I knew she was texting William, trying to explain what happened this afternoon. "Honey, are you really going on a business trip tomorrow?" I asked. "Yeah, the company arranged it," she said without looking up. "Where to?" "San Francisco again." I nodded. "Be careful, then. The weather's been bad lately." "I know." She was still glued to her phone. I walked up behind her and pretended to glance at her screen with concern. Just as I thought, she was chatting with William. "Don't worry about what happened today. I'll handle it. But I'm worried. What if your husband suspects something?" "He won't. He's simple. He won't overthink it." "Simple?" I scoffed internally. She really underestimated me. After dinner, Ava said she was going to the study to handle some work. I knew she was going to video chat with William to calm him down after today's shock. I watched TV in the living room, but I was actually listening for sounds from the study. Sure enough, I soon heard the sounds of their video call. "Babe," I was so scared today. William's voice sounded pitiful. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Ava's voice was gentle. But you handled it well. He probably didn't suspect a thing. But he asked so many questions. I didn't know what to say. It's okay. A coincidence like that won't happen again. We'll sign the contract tomorrow, and you can move in next month. Really? But the rent is so expensive. Don't worry, I'll pay for it. I'd spend any amount of money for you. You're so good to me. But what about your husband? Don't worry, I'll handle him. In 6 months at most, I'll divorce him. Then we can be together openly. 6 months? She really had it all figured out. 6 months was enough time for her to transfer all the assets. I tiptoed to the study door and peeked through the crack. Ava was smiling foolishly at her phone. I had never seen that expression on her face before, not even when we were first married. I took out my phone and recorded the whole thing. The video call lasted for over an hour. They exchanged countless sweet nothings and planned how they would decorate their new apartment. Listening to all this, my heart turned to ice. In her eyes, I was just a tool she could discard at any time. 3 years of marriage meant nothing to her. If that's how it was, then she couldn't blame me for being ruthless. After the video call ended, Ava came out of the study, looking much happier. Finished with work? I asked. Yeah, now I can go on my trip tomorrow with peace of mind, she said. Then you should get some rest. That night, Ava slept soundly, even smiling in her dreams a few times. But I was wide awake, organizing all the evidence and finalizing my plan for tomorrow. The next morning, Ava was ready to leave again. Honey, I'm off, she said, giving me a routine kiss. Be safe, I replied, still gentle. As soon as she left, I called Max. Max, is the divorce agreement ready? All set. Just like you asked, the property division is heavily in your favor. And the asset freeze request has been submitted. Good. We can make our move this afternoon. Then I contacted Mr. Davis. The final step. Are you ready? Standing by, he replied. I checked the time. 10 in the morning. Based on what I overheard last night, Ava and William were scheduled to sign the lease at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And that's when I would give them a surprise they would never forget. I put on my best suit and styled my hair. If I was going to face off against a pretty boy, I was going to do it in my best form. The final chapter of this war was about to begin. At 2 o'clock sharp, I arrived at the leasing office of the luxury apartment building. Through the glass doors, I saw Ava and William signing the contract with the leasing manager. William was dressed in trendy streetwear, looking young and stylish, while Ava looked at him with adoration, squeezing his hand from time to time. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Ma'am, sir, congratulations on choosing our property, I said to the leasing manager with a smile. I'm the actual tenant for this apartment, and this is my wife, Ava. The entire room fell silent. Ava's face turned as white as a sheet, and the pen in her hand clattered onto the table. William was stunned, looking at me, completely at a loss. The leasing manager was even more confused. What's going on? It's like this, I said, calmly taking a seat. My wife wasn't entirely truthful just now. This apartment is being rented with our marital assets, and according to the law, I have the right to be informed and involved in the decision. Ava finally snapped out of her shock. Tim, how did you know about this place? Why wouldn't I know? I retorted. You're using my money to rent an apartment for your little lover. You don't think I have a right to know? The words little lover instantly made the atmosphere tense. William's face flushed crimson, and tears started to well up in his eyes. The leasing manager, realizing this was a domestic dispute, tried to excuse himself. Maybe you should sort out your family matters first? No need, I stopped him. The contract still needs to be signed, but the signatory needs to be changed. I took a stack of documents from my bag. These are the bank statements for our joint accounts, along with transfer records. Ms. Ava Grant has transferred $80,000 to Mr. William Cole over the last 3 months, all from our joint funds. I placed the documents on the table. According to marital law, any unilateral disposal of joint property by one spouse is invalid. Therefore, this lease agreement must be signed by me. Ava's voice trembled. Tim, listen to me, let me explain. Explain? I sneered. How are you going to explain it? Explain you two getting a room at the Ritz? Explain buying him an 18,000 watch? Or explain the loving embrace you shared while shooting that jewelry ad? With every word, Ava's face grew paler. William was already crying. Sir, I didn't know. Don't call me sir. I cut him off. I'm 28, not your uncle. And stop playing the victim. You seemed pretty happy during your video chat with my wife last night, didn't you? William looked at Ava in shock. You have cameras in your house? It was then that Ava realized I knew everything. When did you find out? She asked, her voice strained. From the moment you misdialed 3 days ago, I said flatly. You meant to call your little lover but called me instead. You two sounded so sweet on that call. Ava slumped into her chair, utterly defeated. She finally understood that my gentleness and concern over the past few days had all been an act. Now let's get down to business, I continued. I am willing to continue renting this apartment to Mr. Cole. However, the rent will need to be recalculated. I pulled out another document. This is a new lease agreement drafted by my lawyer. The monthly rent is $30,000, with 1 month's rent and 12 months deposit paid up front. There is also a penalty fee of $100,000. 30,000? William exclaimed. I thought it was 8,000. 8,000 was the old price, I said calmly. Prices have gone up. And considering your special relationship, there's a moral hazard fee. Ava stood up in anger. Tim, don't you dare go too far. Too far? I stood up as well. You used my money to keep another man. Who do you think went too far? Just then, footsteps approached the door. Mr. Davis walked in with 2 other people. Mr. Grant, here are the witnesses you requested. I recognized the 2 people. One was Ava's college classmate, and the other was her colleague from work. They were both shocked by the scene. Ava, what's going on? Her classmate asked. I answered before Ava could. Ava cheated on me and used our joint assets to rent an apartment for her lover. Now, I'm going to settle this score with her in front of everyone. Ava wanted to explain, but she was at a loss for words. With all the evidence laid out, any explanation would be futile. Ms. Grant, how could you do something like this? Her colleague said in disbelief. Ava stammered, unable to form a complete sentence. At this point, William completely broke down, crying. I didn't know she was married. She told me they were already divorced. Mr. Cole, your lying skills need some work, I said, pulling out my phone. This is a recording of your video chat from last night. Why don't you listen to what you two said? I played a clip. But what about your husband? Don't worry, I'll handle him. In 6 months at most, I'll divorce him. After the recording played, the room was silent. William's lie had been exposed. Now, let's talk about compensation, I continued. Ms. Grant, the $80,000 you transferred to Mr. Cole needs to be returned, doubled. Additionally, you will compensate me for the emotional distress you have caused. I presented the final document. This is a compensation agreement for a total of $500,000. You can pay in a lump sum or in installments. Ava was dumbfounded. 500,000? Where would I get that much money? No money? I sneered. Then you can work it off. I will personally inform every single one of your company's clients about what happened today and let them know exactly what kind of person you are. You can't do that. Ava panicked. Why can't I? I shot back. When you were betraying our marriage, did you ever consider the consequences? At that moment, the leasing manager timidly asked, So, is the apartment still being rented? Yes, I said, at the new price. If Mr. Cole can't afford it, then he can get out of Ms. Grant's life. William looked at Ava desperately, but Ava was too preoccupied with her own problems to care. The drama was finally coming to an end. After leaving the leasing office, Ava followed me, pleading nonstop. Tim, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. I'll change. I walked toward my car without looking back. Change? What will you change? Your habit of cheating or your habit of lying? I'll change everything. I'll change it all, she said desperately. Just don't divorce me. I'll agree to any conditions. I stopped and turned to face her. You're scared now? When you and William were planning the divorce and how to split the assets, did you ever consider my feelings? Ava's face turned even paler. You heard all of that? Not only heard it, I recorded it, I said flatly, including the part where you said I was simple and wouldn't overthink it. Ava was utterly hopeless. Her legs gave out and she nearly collapsed to her knees. Tim, I was truly wrong. I was just confused when I said those things. The person I love most is still you. Don't make me sick, I said with disgust. If you loved me, you wouldn't have been screwing around behind my back for 3 months. Just then, my phone rang. It was Max. Tim, the asset freeze is in effect. All accounts under her name are frozen. Also, the divorce agreement is ready. When do you want to come sign? I'm on my way now, I said. I hung up and looked at Ava. Did you hear that? Your accounts are frozen. If you want them unfrozen, pay me back what you owe me first. But if my accounts are frozen, how can I pay you back? Ava said in a panic. That's your problem, I said coldly. You can ask William for it, borrow from your parents, or sell your shares in the company. Whatever you do, I want to see the money within a week. With that, I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Ava standing there, looking like a lost and broken woman. In the distance, William watched, his face filled with fear and despair. That cheating pair was finally getting a taste of what betrayal costs. I drove to Max's law firm. Tim, you were incredible today, Max said excitedly. I never knew you had such a tough side. When you're pushed to the edge, you can do anything, I said with a wry smile. So what's the plan now? Are you really going through with the divorce? I nodded. I have to. I can't forgive this kind of betrayal for a single second. Good. I support you, Max said. With the evidence you have, you can get most of the assets plus emotional damages. We spent 2 hours finalizing the details of the divorce agreement, ensuring my interests were maximized. During that time, Ava called me over a dozen times. I ignored every call. She also sent a flood of texts, all apologies and pleas for forgiveness. I didn't bother reading them. At 6 in the evening, I went home. Ava was already waiting at the door, looking much more haggard. Tim, can we please talk? She pleaded. There's nothing to talk about, I said coldly. Either you pay me back within a week, or you sign the divorce papers. I really know I was wrong. Please just give me one more chance, she said, grabbing my hand. We've had a good 3 years, haven't we? Why do we have to get a divorce over this one thing? I shook her hand off. A good 3 years? You think lying to me for 3 months, using my money to support your toy boy, and planning to divorce me and transfer our assets behind my back is good? I was just confused, she explained. I don't have real feelings for him. It was just a thrill. A thrill? I sneered. Transferring $80,000 to him, buying him a watch, renting him an apartment, that's all just a thrill? Ava was speechless. And another thing, I continued. That loving embrace in the ad. That foolish smile on your face during your video chats. Was that all just a thrill? Too? Tim, don't say my name. It disgusts me. I cut her off. From today on, we are strangers. You either pay me back or you get a divorce. There is no third option. With that, I pushed past her and went inside. Ava tried to follow, but I shut the door in her face. She banged on the door for a long time, yelling and pleading, but I ignored it all. I sat in the living room, staring at our wedding photo on the wall, a storm of emotions brewing inside me. 3 years of marriage ending just like this. It would be a lie to say I wasn't hurt, but mostly, I felt anger and disappointment. I had loved this woman. I had given up so much for her, and she had betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. If that's how it was, then she couldn't blame me for being ruthless. This was a war I was going to win, completely and utterly. Over the next few days, Ava began her journey of repayment. First, she went to William for the money, but he was a student from a working-class family and couldn't possibly come up with that much. They got into a huge fight over money, and things ended badly. Then, Ava went to her parents to borrow money, but when they found out she had cheated, they were furious. Not only did they refuse to lend her money, but they also gave her a harsh lecture. Her parents even called me to apologize, saying they hadn't raised their daughter right and that I had been wronged. Finally, Ava was left with no choice but to sell her shares in her company. But when news of this got out, her reputation at the company plummeted. Her colleagues started looking at her differently, and clients began to question her character. The jewelry company project, in particular, was immediately canceled after the client learned about her real relationship with the model. Ava's career began to crumble. As for me, I started a new life. I threw myself back into my work, picking up projects I had put on hold for the sake of our family. I also met up with some old friends and told them about my impending divorce. They were all supportive of my decision, agreeing that Ava wasn't worth wasting my life on. "Tim, a guy like you deserves someone better," my friend Amy said. "You'll be so much happier once you're rid of a snake like her." "Yeah, man. You're young. Get the divorce over with and start fresh," another friend added. With my friend's support, I felt even more certain about my decision. Meanwhile, rumors about Ava's affair started to spread online. Somehow, the story of what happened at the leasing office got out, and someone had even taken a video. Although you couldn't see faces clearly in the video, anyone who knew the situation knew what was happening. Ava's image in our social circle completely collapsed. Her friends started to distance themselves from her, afraid of being associated with the scandal. William wasn't doing any better. His classmates all found out he had been a homewrecker and pointed and whispered at him at school. His parents also found out and came all the way from their hometown to take him back. According to Mr. Davis, William ended up dropping out of college and going home. So much for Ava's true love. A week later, Ava finally scraped the money together. She had sold her company shares at a low price and borrowed from a few friends, finally managing to come up with the $500,000. When she transferred the money to my account, I could see the despair and resentment in her eyes. "I paid you back. Can we get back together now?" she asked, making a last-ditch effort. No, I refused flatly. The money was just the first step. Next, we finalized the divorce. "Tim, please, don't beg me." "Beg the judge," I said coldly. "Court, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Be there." The next day, we officially processed our divorce at the courthouse. The process was smooth. The evidence was irrefutable, and Ava had no grounds to contest the division of assets. The house was mine, the car was mine, and most of the savings were mine. Ava was left with only a small amount of cash, barely enough to get by. When the judge declared the divorce final, I felt a sense of relief I had never known. 3 years of marriage had finally come to an end, and Ava had lost everything. Her career, her family, her reputation, all destroyed by one affair. As I walked out of the courthouse, I saw Ava sitting on the steps, looking like a beggar on the street. She saw me and looked like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she said nothing, just watched me walk away with a look of utter despair. I felt no pity for her. She had brought all of this on herself. Betraying a marriage has a price, and she was now paying it. 6 months later, I received some unexpected news. Ava had gone bankrupt. Her company had failed after losing its main clients, and she was being sued over debt. The irony was that William hadn't stuck with her either. When she hit rock bottom, William found a rich older woman and completely abandoned Ava. I heard that when Ava found out, she broke down crying in the street. She finally understood what goes around comes around truly meant. As for me, I started a brand new life. I redecorated the house, getting rid of everything that reminded me of Ava. I started working out, bought new clothes, and completely reinvented myself. I was also doing great at work. Freed from the distractions of domestic life, I could fully dedicate myself to my career. Not long ago, I got a promotion and a raise, doubling my previous income. My friends all said I looked much better now than I did when I was married, radiating confidence. "Tim, you look amazing now," Max remarked. "Leaving that cheating woman was the best decision you ever made." I smiled and nodded. "Yeah. My life is much better without her." Recently, friends have tried to set me up with people, but I've politely declined. After this betrayal, I'm not ready to jump into another relationship just yet. I want to focus on loving myself and building my own life. As for love, if it happens, it happens. One night, I was organizing old photos and came across our wedding picture. In the photo, Ava was smiling so brightly, as if I were the most important person in her life. Looking at it now, I could see how fake that smile was. I picked up the photo and tore it to shreds without a second thought. The past is in the past. It was time to look forward. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, is this Mr. Tim Grant? Yes, who is this? I'm a reporter from Modern Man magazine. We heard you recently went through a unique marital experience, and we'd like to interview you to share your story with our male readers. I thought about it for a moment and agreed. Maybe my experience could help other men who were going through a similar betrayal, to let them know that being cheated on isn't the end, but not having the courage to fight back is. A week later, my story was published in the magazine under the headline, "He Taught a Cheater the Ultimate Lesson. Betrayal Has a Price." The article received a huge response. Many male readers left comments, sharing their own similar experiences and thanking me for giving them courage. One comment in particular stuck with me. After reading your story, I've decided to stop tolerating my wife's affair. Thank you for making me realize that men can be strong too, and we can make those who betray us pay the price. Reading these comments, I felt a sense of validation. If my painful experience could help other men, then it had meaning. Later, I received a special invitation. A well-known law firm invited me to be a legal consultant, specializing in helping men who have been victims of marital betrayal. I accepted the offer and started my new career. In the process of helping others, I was also healing myself. Every time I saw one of these men regain their confidence and happiness, I knew I had made the right choice. As for Ava, I never heard from her again. Maybe she started over somewhere, or maybe she's still paying the price for her betrayal. But either way, it had nothing to do with me anymore. I had completely walked out of that dark chapter and into my own sunlight. Now I am stronger and stand taller than ever before, because I know that a man's greatest charm isn't his dependence on a woman, but his independence, his strength, and his ability to live for himself. That was the most important lesson I learned from that betrayal. And it's what I want to tell all men out there. Never underestimate your own strength and never tolerate betrayal. You deserve a better life, and you have the power to create a better future.